Hi, I'm Tony Russo, editor of Funeral Service Insider, and this is Funeral Service Insider, the podcast from Kates-Boylston. Conversations worth having about the culture and business surrounding end-of-life care. This week, we are speaking with Ryan Reyes, and Ryan is a principal at Dignity Solutions, but more important, he was the force behind getting LinkedIn to recognize funeral service as an industry on its own, like a standalone industry that you can say you're a part of. And the reasons that it's important are bigger than just some goofy social media site. And we're going to get into that, and you'll see more about that in coming issues of Funeral Service Insider as well. But it's a great conversation. I'm going to get you right to it. But first, let's listen to this message from our sponsor, Passages International. Looking for a way to honor your loved one while honoring the planet? At Passages, we specialize in eco-friendly funeral products made from renewable, biodegradable materials. Whether it's a stunning willow casket, a biodegradable urn for scattering, or our unique memorial keepsakes, we help create meaningful goodbyes that tread lightly on the earth. Join the movement toward greener funerals. Visit passagesinternational.com and discover how you can celebrate a life while protecting the planet for generations to come. Link in the show notes. So I reached out to you initially because of the thing with LinkedIn, which we will absolutely get to. But before we get to that, one of the things I discovered that when I reached out to you about LinkedIn was that you weren't a new employee of an old company. So can you give us a little bit of background? Like, how did you get to where you are, and tell us a little bit about Dignity Solutions?
Yeah, I mean, I won't give the entire life story because we'll need at least 5 series for that. But I had a consulting firm that I called RSR Enterprises for the past 6 years. And back in August, September, an angel investor came in and, wanted to basically help me expand my business. I said, all right, sure, that sounds good. But the contingency was they wanted me to rebrand. So to get the money for marketing and staffing and things like that, they wanted the name Dignity Solutions, and I appeased her. I said, absolutely. So we rebranded as Dignity Solutions, and it's still the same, full service consulting firm within funeral service. And it's got a new name, new look, and more employees. That's basically all that's changed.
And one of the things that because you don't have a common story of coming to funeral service, but one of the things that I noticed about your career that seems a little less uncommon, I guess might be the way to put it, is that you worked yourself into a position to start consulting by doing all this grinding on the ground. You didn't get an MBA in funeral service consulting and start this business. But you did get an MBA, I guess. So kind of you did. Yeah. So tell me about how you got into funeral service, or how you failed, I guess, to get into funeral service as a funeral director, and how that changed the way that you approached it.
Failed is definitely the correct word. My uncle and great uncle owned a funeral home on the west side of Chicago, and a lot of the babysitting when my mom dropped me off was there. So, imagine hide and go seek and just being in a casket and then forgetting about you for a few hours. The My Girl story, right? I even played tuba back then. So, I mean, it really is the My Girl story.
That's great.
Helping out with the gravity embalmment, which was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen until they upgraded, and setting up for services. And, they got me my first part-time gig mowing lawns at a local cemetery. I kind of fell into it that way, and then, had a more traditional thing working at Best Buy and at a hospital and things like that, helping with removals as side gigs. And I basically spent a couple days my senior year of high school, because I was graduating early, over at Worsham, and found out real quick I don't have the skill or the science to be a funeral director in any way, shape, or form. You do not. If you want me doing the arrangement conference, I got you all day. But any part of reconstruction or makeup or dressing or cast, any of that, I'm going to fail horrendously. I just don't have the skill set for it. So they threw a phone book in front of me, it's the 90s. And they're like, I want you to call every name in this list, and invite them in to discuss funeral plans. And I ended up setting 22 appointments for the weekend. And they're like, you should be in sales. I'm like, I don't want to be in sales. It doesn't sound good, So the plan was, go to college, get a business degree, learn all the nuances, go into law, something like that. And while I was at the University of Illinois, they actually sold the funeral home. So I got a pair of bachelors in economics and political science for pre-law. And then I went back for my MBA. And then I went back and got a master's in management, just all the things, because it's 2008 and finding a job's impossible. I'd left funeral service for a while. I had a pretty catastrophic injury working private security because I needed extra money to pay for my MBA. I lost the ability to walk for 18 months, moved out to Hawaii. There, I rehabbed myself. I lost a good amount of weight, strengthened my core, but most importantly, I made my peace with God, and that really kind of changed my mindset. And I became a devout Christian after that, and I learned about serving others. I moved back to Chicago from Honolulu and worked in the fitness industry. And next thing I knew, I get a promotion out in Kansas City, and one of the sales directors for SCI recruited me to come work for him. And I helped out after the Stewart acquisition, and the next, as they say, is history.
I think that it's really interesting that you also may have been like not a victim, but of knowing too much. By the time you got to mortuary school, you're like, oh wow, I know how good people can be at this, right? Where I think a lot of times it might be different. And there's a certain maturity in realizing that you're not going to have the skill. It wasn't that you didn't have the desire, but you're like, the amount of practice that it's going to take me to get good at this could be better spent doing pretty much anything else.
Yeah. My Uncle Frank could probably embalm someone through their pinky toe. I mean, the guy could do it blindfolded. So it was a tough, that's tough to hold a candle to, right? But I don't have that ability, and I know I don't. There is a skill and a science that's required to be a funeral director, and it's more than just serving someone, because you only get one shot at it, right? There's only one.
Yeah.
There's only one, memorial service, and you can't blow it. And I know that if I was the one working on you, I would be embarrassed. So it's not my skill set, and that's okay. Not everybody has that skill set, but it's still my calling. So the fact that I got back into funeral service in the most backwards way possible, doing sales, something I never wanted to do, and then succeeding at it and working for all the vendors, helping them sell their companies. There's not a position in the funeral industry that I have not held. So I think that's a little unique, but it also helps me understand and empathize with people, because I know what you're going through, from funeral assistant to placing a monument to having to meet those call metrics to the C-suite. So it's nice that I get to help as many people as humanly possible now.
And the other thing that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was the kind of disconnect. I think a lot of times people think a job is different from what it is. Mm-hmm. And you are shying away from being a quote salesperson, unquote, to this day as a very successful salesperson, right? It's like you don't like the stereotype of it, but you don't have to, but living up to the stereotype is what you don't like about it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's probably fair. I read a book back in 2017 called From Selling to Serving. And it really related to me, because as a Christian, I'm supposed to serve my fellow man to the best of my ability, without material injury to myself, right? That's our goal. That's our calling. And in sales, it's all about, how can I build this relationship so that I can get what I want? It's very self-serving, and not all sales are like that. And I'm not downplaying any salesperson, because at the core, we're all salespeople, and every conversation a sale is happening. You're either believing what I'm saying, or you're buying whatever in your head that's the opposite of this, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to go into any situation where I'm only looking for myself. And if the goal here is to build a relationship so that I can benefit from it, that's not really building a relationship. A relationship is a two-way connection with trust, respect, and loyalty. So I prefer to go into things how can I help this person? How can I make their life better? How can I serve them and do the right thing? And that has benefited me exponentially more than trying to go in and just gain success and glory for myself.
Yeah, we had talked about this in the interview of the story that is either out, and it should be out now as people are listening to this. And it was a really kind of, it was a place that we struggled enough that I only kind of hinted at it in the story because it's complex, right? The idea of a relationship as a goal rather than as a byproduct is kind of what we were toying with, because I was like, you're good at making relationships, and you didn't like that observation.
It's relationships are what come, right? You know, that's the goal, right? You want to have the relationship. You have to work to gain the relationship, but it isn't the with them. It isn't the what's in it for me. It's in the how can I serve someone else? And if they have that same mentality and we're always serving each other, we're always trying to benefit each other, we're always, putting something mutually successful at the core, that's what a strong relationship looks like. The best relationships that I have are from people who I don't need to ask things from. I could, but I don't. And those are the people who give me referrals, give me leads. They talk positively behind my back. They're the ones who I know if they were broken down on the side of the road, I'd get a phone call and I'd be there as fast as humanly possible. That's what I strive to have. And that's what I'm glad to say that the majority of my colleagues in this industry or in my personal life are. That's the benefit.
It's been amazing to me as an outsider, covering the industry, because it's so rare that it really is something that people need. Like, people need to have at least a plan. I mean, if they're pre-funded, that is wonderful. But like, people need to have a better relationship with the fact that their time is limited. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what, I guess, just talking about pre-need now, that's kind of what the pre-need progress is, right? We're going to, I know you need this more than you know you need this, in a way that other sales isn't the case, right? It is genuinely the case that you guys, that when people, especially when it comes to pre-need, that what people need more than they do. Right. And it really is, there's a genuine helping coming from just that angle, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. People don't think about us until they need us. And that's where the whole LinkedIn fight came from, right? I mean, hey. That's where it comes from, because the whole last responder thing during COVID, it's true. The whole, that's the funeral director already. He's the undertaker and he dresses like one, and they, kind of shy away from us until they need us, right? But what a lot of people don't realize, and I would hope do realize, is that we work in the community. We're a grocery store, shopping next to you. We're mowing our lawns just like you are. We're trying to make a living and make the world a safer place for our kids. But when you call on us and it's time, we've got one shot to do this perfectly. If you haven't talked about what your, mom, dad, whoever the decedent was, needs, right? And then you get stuck with these two questions. Did I do the right thing? And did I do what they have wanted? And that can eat you alive for the rest of your life. And I don't want that to happen to anyone. So don't shy away from your mortician, funeral director, undertaker, whatever it is you want to call us. Come have a conversation. Talk to a pre-need sales agent, because that's true service. Is we're taking away that one horrible piece of grief and doubt that can get planted in your mind at the time of need.
It's so interesting that you said that, and I'm going to ask you to solve one of my problems that nobody has heard about yet. I got an interesting email literally 20 minutes ago. We're recording this on April 2nd, and it was because of a story that I had written that was in American Cemetery and Cremation. And the person I interviewed was a person new to the industry, but already very successful. And they didn't go to mortuary school. They didn't have any experience. They bought an acclimation machine. And they got into business because the stereotype frustrated them. Mm-hmm. And the number of people I speak with who are innovating in funeral service because the stereotypes bother them is shocking. There's a shocking number of people that say, well, funeral directors are just, they're just these droopy old men. And I know it's not the case, and you know it's not the case. How does the public learn that it's not the case?
Well,
Because that's what you're saying, like, I'm at the grocery store. I'm a part of your community. That's what made me think of that question.
so let's tackle this twofold. One, the majority, and I want to say it's something like 80% of mortuary students right now are female. It's not droopy old men anymore. It's not the WWE wrestler with the big hat, right?
Right.
It's the future of funeral service right now is, one, they're younger. First of all, they're not in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They don't use fax machines. They digitize everything. And two, the vast majority is female. So don't think of the old man with the tweed jacket and the weird patches and the horrible comb over.
Right.
So that's level one. Level two is one of the many reasons why I picked that fight with LinkedIn, because our industry doesn't exist on LinkedIn. And
Right.
we finally won. And here in the next 30 days will be the next update. And funeral service and various factors of death care will be a selectable industry on LinkedIn. So now it's going to be a professionally recognized industry on the biggest professional network. I hope that everybody who's in our industry, selects funeral director or cemeterian or mortuary student or funeral vendor or funeral pre-need planner, pre-need arranger, whatever the titles are going to be that Ryan and his team come out with. And it's going to give us the proper recognition that we need. The third thing, and I'm just going to throw this out there, is we have National Funeral Director Mortician Day. And, there's a holiday for every single day. But if everybody shared that on LinkedIn, Facebook, various forms of social media, in a few years, it will get a following and a little bit of recognition. And you might come to know us more than just on Memorial Day, Mother's Day, and when you need us, right? So that's kind of the goal.
Hi, I want to take a second to talk to you about some of the events we have at Kates-Boylston, our events program, and some of the specific events as well. If you have never attended one of our live events, they are always very exciting, and there's lots of great connections made. There's lots of great talks given, and it's something that people, once they attend, tend to continue to attend when it's possible. We have them all over the country, and usually we have regional attendance, so people don't necessarily fly across the country. But if you can drive or if you can get in on a short flight, it is absolutely worth attending any of our in-person conferences. And if you have a computer, there's no good excuse to miss any of our virtual conferences. So we have a couple coming up in the next couple of weeks that I want to talk about. Next couple of weeks, actually a couple of months, really. So in May, we have 2 virtual events, Pre-Need Planning Symposium and Cremation Innovations. So that is going to be a look at ways to generate revenue that are in addition to what you're already doing, which is, kind of the point, like finding out new things and finding new ways to serve your families and, also help expand your business. And one of the best ways to expand your business is to be up to date on the technology. And on June 3rd and 4th in Asheville, North Carolina, we will have our technology think tank. And that is an in-person event, and it is going to be so much fun. I mean, Asheville is a great city. And the think tank, we have this every year, and every year we learn new things because people bring things they're going to be doing. I think I mentioned on a recent one when we had Greg Grabowski and Jennifer Wright Berryman both told us and our attendees, told the attendees at our events about programs that they didn't even have out yet, that they were working on to have coming out, and to build anticipation for some of the solutions or learn new ways to make the best use of some of the solutions you already have at your disposal. So anyway, please visit us at events.katesboylston.com. There is a link in the show notes, and you'll get all the information you need about all of our upcoming events. Many, if not most, have continuing education credits attached to them. So if that's a concern for you, it's also something that we have. But anyway, link in the show notes to that, and let's get back to this conversation. I want to talk about LinkedIn, but I want you to tell the story of how you got it, because it's a cool story and everybody else should get to hear it, even if they made the mistake of not subscribing to Funeral Service Insider, the newsletter. It's a fantastic story. Can you tell me how you came to petition LinkedIn and how it all shook out?
Yeah. I'll try not to take the full 30 minutes, but
That's fine.
My time at my last company had come to an end at the end of July, and I decided to go all in on Dignity Solutions and my consulting industry, which, we provide pretty much every single service that you could need within funeral service, but without the salespeople, so we can get it to you at a low cost. Sorry about the ringtone in the background. That's my dog.
That's okay.
Me. So what we want to do is get some form of recognition, right? Get to find our people on funeral or on LinkedIn. And when I rebranded Dignity Solutions, I wanted to put, funeral provider, consultant, wholesaler, anything before the funeral industry. It doesn't exist. So I emailed LinkedIn and I put in support tickets and I started doing all of the things you do to get recognition. I was getting nowhere. I was getting no communication back. I'd probably tried once every other week. I didn't go full in. And then around November, I was like, all right, let's step it up a notch. Who owns LinkedIn? It's Microsoft. Okay. So I'm going to go through Xbox, through Microsoft Windows, through Excel, through Microsoft Suite, through the various parts of Microsoft and get that all petitioned and to get us placed. And I got nowhere. They're like, if you need help, call this 800 number. I called the 800 number, nothing. Got through the Christmas season. Things were insanely busy. We're in the middle of helping a location sell, and that should be finalized here any day. Dealing with some local clients, cemeteries and funeral homes, and it's the fourth quarter, so everything's insanely busy, right? January kicks off, and I call my lawyer. I'm like, I'm losing. I don't know how to get us recognition. I don't know how to get us seen. And he's like, well, what's the most annoying thing you could possibly do? And I'm like, spam every single person on LinkedIn every day. Let's do it. I said, all right. So I started posting on the company site and on my personal LinkedIn, tagging the CEO of LinkedIn every day. I created a petition on change.org and I set LinkedIn and the CEO of LinkedIn as the decision maker. I started messaging every person I could think of who worked at LinkedIn, and I put in a help ticket every hour on the hour. And within 3 days, just with this ridiculous guerrilla marketing tactic, I got not only one reply from the help team, I got a phone call from the help team. I got a message directly from the CEO of LinkedIn, and he replied to my comment, and it was very apologetic. They're like, I have no idea how we missed you. You're right. This is something that everybody needs. And just within our quick data discovery dive, they called it, we see so many people on LinkedIn who are listed as the wrong thing, who are in funeral service. So coming our status update here in April, all of the various industry factors of funeral and cemetery service will be live. So by May 1st, everything will be there and we'll be a recognized industry on LinkedIn.
That's so important for so many reasons. But I also, I got this story from seeing you on LinkedIn, and I've been on LinkedIn for 30 years, whatever. But I've only started using it recently, and only because that is one place where you can speak with funeral service professionals. That's how I got in touch with you. I send people connections. I'm like, hey, I'm working on this story. Can you help? And that never worked on Facebook. It never worked on Twitter, and it works great on LinkedIn. So I think if I could see the back end of LinkedIn, I would be shocked to see that funeral service isn't one of the top most active industries on that platform.
Yeah. I agree completely. So I am happy. I'm elated. I'm astonished that we got this done, and I'm so proud that funeral service can now be recognized. it's a long time coming, and it's something we all deserve. And gosh, I'm humbled for the amount of people who have sent thank you messages for getting this done, or who have, called me and said thank you. It, anybody could have done it, and I'm just glad it's done now.
And also, yes, but, right? And to connect it to what we were speaking about before, it's a place to be very publicly, hey, I'm just a normal person. This is a regular business. It's just an important one, and now it's a way to, I had said something in the article. I don't remember if it was in the article about you or if it was in an editorial that I wrote, but it was like, everybody should adopt this and get on board for this reason alone. Right. We need to be seen as a normal, quote, normal, unquote industry.
Yep. 100%. I can't tell you, the amount of times, and this might be a little egg on my face, but as a single dad, the only place you can really date is on an app, right? It's hard to meet people out.
Right.
When I get asked what I do, and I tell them, I have a consulting firm within the funeral industry, the response I always get in order is, oh, interesting, followed up by, that must be really sad. Every single time without fail, those are the two sentences, to which, I chuckle, and I have to tell them every single time, it's not sad. This is the greatest honor anyone could ever have, because on the worst day of your life, you get to sit with someone like me who will serve you and only make sure that your loved one is honored, you are protected for the future, that you don't have to worry about all the various things. We just got to get through all of these questions if you didn't prearrange, or we just need to set a date if you did prearrange. And I'm here to help and serve you. That's the goal.
That is so fantastic. So you've been doing this. You've expanded your consulting business. I wanted to talk to you because when we were talking, you for the initial story, you were saying, yeah, I try not to take any companies that I can't drive to, but that didn't last for very long. So talk about your expansion a little bit, your employee expansion, your range expansion.
Yeah. So we provide human resources, fractional CFOs, CROs, COO, and CHROs. We provide human resources information systems. We provide promotional marketing, basically anything but paper products. We have pre-need insurance sales teams, pre-need marketing. We have at-need insurance consignment. We do acquisitions and divestitures, user experience, surveys, follow-up aftercare. We have cemetery marketing systems. We have cemetery management systems and mapping systems. We have contract management systems. We have trusting software, basically anything you could possibly need in the funeral industry or cemetery industry, we have. And I partner with one company for each thing, and I provide it at wholesale cost. Recently partnered with Titan Casket for urns and caskets. And that was mostly because with the forthcoming tariffs, they're not going to be affected by that. So getting caskets to your funeral home for cheaper, that's the goal, right? How can I provide whatever it is that a funeral home, cemetery, or combo unit needs at the lowest cost possible? I'm not in this to become a billionaire. I'm in this to take the smallest amount of commission that I need to keep a roof over my head or keep any one of my 41 contractors happy and employed and healthy, and give the rest back to the funeral home cemetery owner so that they can live their life happily and they can serve their families without stress. That's the whole goal. And we've now taken on a client in France. We've got one in New Zealand. The locations that I support, if it's not within an 8-hour radius of Kansas City and I can't drive to it, I won't take it. So as far south as Dallas, I've got a few here, a couple in St. Louis, one in Chicago. I used to have one in Denver, but I don't like driving through the mountains, so I kind of freaked out on that one. And I didn't go as far as Nashville. But I prefer to be on site if I'm going to consult for a funeral home and cemetery. But otherwise, it's all of the vendor solutions, and all of my colleagues and my partners, they have the same mission. They're willing to serve. They've got a very, Christian mindset, just like I do. all the glory is to God, and he gave me the ability to do this. So I'm very grateful and very happy that I can serve others.
I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I do have a soft spot for Titan caskets, because I called them out for the first couple of years, the first month or so that I was working here doing the coverage. I was like, this is a company that seems like it's all sizzle and no steak. And then I finally was able to get an interview with them, and it's absolutely the opposite. It's all steak, and the sizzle is just a minor distraction. And I'm always happy to see them doing well. I just got my own Mort in the mail, and I have him on my library shelf, and he makes me very happy.
Mort is great. I'm actually on my second Mort. My puppy loves him. It takes approximately, in case anybody wants to know this, 3 months for a 6-month-old golden retriever to fully destroy a Mort.
Wow. At least we've got that number written down. Excellent. And that is pretty much all I have for you, unless you have something else for me. Is there something I should have asked and didn't, or something that you thought you'd have the opportunity to say, but I didn't provide it?
No, I mean, I appreciate the follow-up. I'm glad that I got to do this. And if there's any funeral home or cemetery out there that I could help or support, whether it be here in the United States or in Canada, I'm happy to virtually help those. And if there's vendors, there's a lot of private equity coming into our industry, and they're trying to run the private equity play. And if there's any vendors that need assistance, either communicating, understanding, or navigating the industry, I'm happy to help them create their business plan and get launched off the ground. I will say this, technology is coming in pretty strong and pretty fiercely into our industry. And it's a great time to start looking at your technology package and figuring out how to do that. I've probably got 4 vendor clients, some that have patents and sales already, some that just have great ideas that are trying to revolutionize and, I guess, update, digitize our industry.
Yeah.
So it's a great time, especially before the FTC rollout happens for pricing clarity and transparency. It's a great time to get involved and start looking at your tech package and upgrade. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story.
My pleasure, Tony. Thank you for reaching out and connecting on LinkedIn. And don't forget to update your industry here in the next 30 days.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Looking for a way to honor your loved one while honoring the planet? At Passages, we specialize in eco-friendly funeral products made from renewable, biodegradable materials. Whether it's a stunning willow casket, a biodegradable urn for scattering, or our unique memorial keepsakes, we help create meaningful goodbyes that tread lightly on the earth. Join the movement toward greener funerals. Visit passagesinternational.com and discover how you can celebrate a life while protecting the planet for generations to come. Link in the show notes. Funeral Service Insider, the podcast, is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written and edited by me, Tony Russo. Please subscribe wherever you're listening. Now, subscribing doesn't mean that there's a fee. You just hit the subscribe button, and whenever an episode comes out, it will be on your phone automatically. If you're into YouTube, I do put out a YouTube video every Friday, but all of our podcasts are also available on the YouTube podcast section. And that is all we have for you this week. If you have any feedback, you can leave me a voicemail. My phone number is 732-746-0233, extension 709. That is 732-746-0233, extension 709. Just leave a message, and if you'd like, I can play it back on the show. If you'd prefer that I don't, some people prefer that I don't, then I won't. So you can reach me there. Of course, you can follow the show note link where you will find my email address if sending an email is better. If you want a sneak preview of the In Case You Missed It weekly Friday show, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Tony Russo there. I work for Kates-Boylston. I'm easy enough to search. And that is where I post the stories that I'm considering using for the In Case You Missed It Friday feature. And that will do it for this week on Funeral Service Insider, the podcast.